took the chance and met us 2 weeks later in a supermarket car park in the Midlands with 2 young Peregrine falcons in cardboard boxes. Our experts had no doubt they were wild.
Let's have a look at his legs.
Now this one,
Yeah, and that ring looks like it could have been forced on, I'm not sure.
well, maybe, but we're able to find out who that ring was issued to.
Yeah,
I think it's quite important.
Yes, it is, yeah.
But he assured you it's a wild bird?
Sure it came from a wild Scottish Irish.
But there was a mystery. Both birds, though wild, were ringed as if captive bred.
Unlip it. That's what I usually try and do. We're good at that.
The first chick was 3 weeks out of the nest, young enough to be returned to a nest.
Right.
At the vet's, its ring was removed as evidence.
Hold the leg. Okay, I'll have to nip away at it. There's numbers on the ring. You don't want to cut the numbers at all. Okay. In our opinion, it was taken from the wild and legitimised legally by having a government ring put on it.
To have those rings fitted, you have to persuade the DOE that the birds are captive bred. We now know that falconer Kenneth Smith ringed and sold 2 peregrines Martello sold on to us.
And it comes from this business.
He rang Chris Neal to say he was the source of the birds and later demanded the rings back.
The reason I'm holding its beak is that it's doing its, if I let it go, it'll do its best to bite my hand.
The second bird he sold us was in a very poor state and is unfit to be returned to the wild for some months yet. Blood samples were taken from both birds to check Ken Smith's further claim that he'd bred the birds from the same parents, and the samples were sent for DNA testing. Was falconer Kenneth Smith telling the DOE the truth when the birds were ringed? Cries of alarm in Scotland. "14 days after we started watching the Scottish nest, the thief arrived. It's a perilous business. One man has already died approaching a peregrine's nest this year. The thief's timing is perfect. 2 weeks after laying, the chicks inside the eggs are viable and safe, though illegal, to move. Under his shirt, he wears a specially made pouch with individual pockets to hold the eggs safely against the warmth of his body. The maximum penalty is a fine of £5,000 per egg. The thief is taking all 4 eggs. He and others have now taken over 40 eggs in 10 years from this nest alone. A theft like this has never before been filmed. We were to identify the thief as Stephen Morrison, unemployed, who has previously been caught with his father stealing eggs. This time, his father, Matthew Morrison, was waiting in his car on the mountain road below. As the thief left, we were on our way to a car park meeting with falconer Ken Smith. Chris Neal wanted to double-check that our chicks, though ringed, were indeed wild.
If the Arab finds out Martello's rooked him, it means that I've rooked him. It means Martello's been fiddled. The order was for wild Scottish peregrines.
Yeah, well, he's got them, actually.
He has got wild Scottish peregrines.
He's got wild Scottish peregrines.
He has.
They just happen to have close rings on, yeah.
They've just got close rings on.
That's fair enough for us. He's definitely got wild Scottish peregrines, but they were close rung when they left me, and they were legal.
So Kenneth Smith admits the birds were wild, and therefore he must have deceived the DOE into ringing them to make them look legal. But were they, as he also claimed, related? The DNA tests were ready.
What do these results
on the light box here tell you?
We prepared DNA fingerprints from the 2 samples submitted to us. I observed 6 similarities between the 2 fingerprints. Now, that gives us on average, about 27% degree of similarity between the 2 individuals. In a human population, unrelated individuals would share, on average, 25% of bands. So the 2 birds that we've fingerprinted here have about as much chance as being related as you and I do.
Mr. Smith, Roger Cook, Central Television.
Yes.
I'd like to talk to you about a couple of peregrines that you sold, wild peregrines, to somebody who was working for us.
Captive peregrines.
No,
Captive
you assured the man, and we have transcript of what you said, that they were wild-caught birds.
Captive red peregrines.
You were lying then, were you?
To whom?
You were lying to Chris Neal? You're trying to tell us they're captive bred, are you? You bred them yourself?
All my birds are captive bred, yes.
So you lied about them being wild birds, did you?
No, they weren't wild birds. I don't deal in wild birds.
You don't deal in wild birds. You told the DOE that they were related.
They're captive bred birds.
Captive bred birds from the same parents, related, sisters.
Yes.
They're not. We have the DNA test here that says they're not, so you're lying again.
It's a mystery.
That left unanswered the issue of the rings. In the car park meeting with Chris Neal, Smith was desperate to be reassured they'd been removed.
I just want to know if the birds are still around in this country with rings on the legs. That's all I'm bothered about.
He has since assured associates that he's got away with it, because the rings, key evidence against him, had been removed.
Do the birds still exist?
The birds still exist, the parents still exist.
With the rings on?
This is one of the peregrines Kenneth Smith sold us. He told us she was wild caught. He told the DOE she was captive bred. And he seems to be laboring under the misapprehension that one of the vital pieces of evidence against him is missing. Well, it's not. The DOE ring, which proves that he lied to the DOE, is still there. One of the birds we bought was judged fit to be returned to the wild immediately. The RSPB had found a suitable nest. The nest we were climbing down to had already been robbed of its first clutch of eggs. And only 1 egg from the second clutch had hatched. This meant that there was a vacancy for a bird of a similar age. One stolen chick, at least, returned to its native mountains.